Hello and welcome everyone to Science Era. In this video, we will be looking at atoms and molecules from Basic Biology BLG1501. This unit of chapters introduce some basic concept of chemistry that apply to study of life. Somewhere in the transition from molecule to cell, we will cross the blurry boundary between non-life and life. This chapter will focus on the chemical components that make up all the matters. Organisms are composed of matter, which is anything that takes up space and has mass. Matter exists in many forms. Rocks, metals, oil, gases, and living organisms are few examples of what seem to be an endless assortment of metals. Elements. Matter is made up of elements. An element is a substance that can be broken down to that cannot be broken down to other substances by chemical reaction. Today, chemists recognize 92 elements occurring in nature. Gold, copper, carbon, and oxygen are all examples of elements. A compound is a substance consisting of two or more different elements combined in a fixed ratio. Table salt, for example, is sodium chloride (NaCl), a compound composed of elements sodium and chlorine in 1:1 ratio. Pure sodium is a metal and pure chlorine is a poisonous gas. When chemically combined, however, sodium and chlorine form an edible compound. Of the 92 natural elements, about 20 to 25% are essential elements that an organism needs to live a healthy life and reproduce. Essential elements are similar among organisms, but there is some variation. For example, human needs 25 elements, but plants only need 17. Just four elements, oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, make up approximately 96% of living matter. Calcium, phosphorus, and potassium and sulfur and a few other elements account for most of the remaining 4% of organism mass. Trace elements are required by organism in only minute quantities. Some trace elements such as iron are needed by all the form of life, others are required only by certain species. Emergent properties of sodium chloride. Emergent properties are new properties that arise with each step upward in hierarchy of life, owing to arrangement and interaction of part as complexity increases. The physical, chemical, and biological properties of salt are the emergent properties. Sodium is a metal and chlorine is a poisonous gas, but when mixed they form a sodium chloride which has a crystal structure. This property is an example of this physical property is an example of how table salt is an emergent property. Table salt is said to have emergent properties because the compound has different characteristics from those of its elements. It is composed of sodium, which is metal, and chlorine, a poisonous gas, but when chemically combined, they form edible substances. Properties of elements depending on structure of atom. Each element consists of certain type of atom that is different from atoms of any other elements. An atom is the smallest unit of matter that still retains the property of an element. Atoms are so small that it would take about a million of them to stretch across the period printed at the end of a sentence. Subatomic particles. Although the atom is the smallest unit having the particles properties of an element, these tiny bit of matter are composed of even smaller particles that are called subatomic particles. Using high energy collision, physicists have produced more than 100 types of particles from the atom. But only three kinds of particles are relevant: neutron, proton, and electron. Protons and electrons are electrically charged. Each proton has one unit of positive charge and each electron has one unit of negative charge. A neutron, as it implies with the name, is neutral. Proton and neutron are packed together tightly in a dense core atomic nucleus at the center of an atom. Proton gives the nucleus a positive charge. Unit of measurement is called Dalton or atomic mass unit. Dalton is equal to atomic mass unit or AMU. Electron is extremely small in mass and proton weighs about 1 Dalton. Atomic number and atomic mass. Atoms of various elements differ in their number of subatomic particles. All atoms of a particular element have the same number of protons in their nuclei. This number of protons, which is unique to that element, is called atomic number and it is written as a subscript to the left of the symbol for the element. Mass number, which is the total of proton and neutron in the nucleus of an atom. The mass number is also written as the subscript to the left of an element symbol. We can determine the number of neutrons by subtracting the atomic number from mass number. Atomic weight, weighted average of atomic mass of all natural isotopes of an element is the atomic weight. Valence, electron in outer shell that bonds with other atoms are the valence electron. Core electron are under the valence electron. Valence electron are reactive electrons and the core electrons are non-reactive. To find valence electron, just look at the element group number. For example, nitrogen is in group 17, so it has 7 valence electron. To find the core electron, total number of electrons minus valence electron will give you the core electrons. All atoms of a given element have the same number of protons, but some atoms have more neutrons than other atoms of the same element and therefore have greater mass. These different atomic forms of the same element are called isotopes of an element. An isotope of an element have slightly different masses, but they behave identically in chemical reaction. A radioactive isotope is one in which the nucleus decays spontaneously, giving off particles and energy. When radioactive decay it leads to change in number of protons, it transforms one atom to an atom of a different element. It is used as a diagnostic tool in medicine, tracer to track atom during metabolism, used with PET scanner to monitor growth and metabolism of cancer. It can be hazard to a life by it can cause hazard to life by damaging the cellular molecules. Radiometric dating is a method which is used to measure the ratio of different isotopes and calculate how many half-lives have passed since organism was formed. An atom's electron vary in amount of energy they possesses. Energy is defined as capacity to cause change, for instance, by doing work. Potential energy is energy that matter possesses because its location or a structure. The electron of an atom have potential energy due to their distance from the nucleus. Electrons are attracted to the negatively charged electron are attracted to the positively charged nucleus. An electron energy level is correlated with its average distance from the nucleus. Electrons are found in different electron shells, each with the characteristic average distance and energy level. Electrons occupy a region of space called orbitals around the nucleus. There are no more than 2 electrons per orbital. Electron with same energy from a shell containing all electrons in same energy level. An energy level consists of more than one orbital. For example, the innermost energy level contains a maximum of 2 electrons, one orbital, while the second energy level contains a maximum 8 electrons, 4 orbitals, and so forth. Number of electrons in outer shell determines the chemical properties of a specific atom. Electron configuration shows the distribution of electrons of an atom. Since the periodic table is based on electronic configuration, you can use it to determine the element's configuration notation. Uncharged atom will have exactly the number of electrons as is represented on the periodic table. For charged atoms, add 1 electron for each negative charge and subtract 1 for each positive charge. The order of filling orbital is as follows: 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 4s, 3d, 4p, 5s, 4d, 5p, and so forth. Chemical bonding. Now that we have looked at the structure of atom, we can move up the hierarchy of organization and see how atoms combine to form molecules and ionic compounds. Atom with incomplete valence shell can interact with certain other atoms in such a way that each partner atom completes its valence shell. The atom either share or transfer valence electron. These interactions usually result in atoms staying close together, held by attraction called chemical bonds. Strongest kind of chemical bond are covalent bond and ionic bond in dry ionic compound. Covalent bond. Covalent bond is a sharing of pair of valence electron by two atoms. Electronegativity is the attraction of a particular atom for electrons of a covalent bond. Covalent bond can be polar or non-polar. Polar bonds. Electrons are shared unequally in polar covalent bonds. One atom is bonded to a more electronegative atom. In non-polar covalent bond, electrons are shared equally because the two atoms have the same electronegativity. Double bond means sharing of two pair of valence electron. Ionic bonds. In some cases, two atoms are so unequal in their attraction for valence electrons that the more electronegative atom strip an electron completely away from its partner. A charged atom or a molecule is called ion. Ion can be positively charged or negatively charged. Positively charged ions are called cations and negatively charged ions are called anions. Compounds formed by ionic bonds are called ionic compounds or salts. Weak chemical interactions. Weak bonding forces such as hydrogen bonding are essential to living organisms because these bonds can be broken and remade fairly easily. The two strands of DNA are held together in a double helix by hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds can form between hydrogen atom and oxygen atoms. Hydrogen bonding may occur between hydrogen molecules. Hydrogen bonds are weak and easily formed or broken, but because of their specific length and orientation, they play an important role in determining the 3D structure of certain large molecules such as proteins and nucleic acid. The large number of hydrogen bonds present in these molecules compensate for their relative weakness. Van der Waals interaction. Nonpolar covalent bonds may have positively and negatively charged regions where weak bonds can be formed when atoms and molecules are close together. Molecular shape and function. When atom is bonded to two central atoms, the arrangement of electron pair is called linear and molecular geometry is also linear. When atom is bonded to three central atoms, arrangement is called trigonal planar and molecular geometry is also trigonal planar. When it is bonded to four atoms, it's tetrahedral. When bonded to five atoms, it's trigonal bipyramidal. And when it's bonded to six atoms, it is octahedral. A molecule biological function could not take effect if its shape did not allow it to be transported to the cell where it is needed. Larger molecules are not transported easily because they could not pass easily through the pores of cell membrane. Smaller molecules could pass easily from one cell to another. The biological function of a molecule is also related to its shape because dense and round shaped molecules are generally connected to transport functions such as transport of oxygen and hemoglobin by cellular elements of the body called red blood cells. Different shape of proteins also have specified function in the body. Polysaccharides come in different sizes and shape based on their biological function in the body. Even in vitro, there is a significant relationship between function and shape. Whatever the function of molecule, the shape must adapt to the biochemical reaction that the molecule is tasked to do. Chemical reaction. Making and breaking of chemical bonds leading to the change in the composition of matter is called a chemical reaction. The more concentrated the solution of reactant, the more the reactant want to push right, making more products. Some goes vice versa. If there is more product, then the reaction will push left and producing more reactants. Photosynthesis, which takes place within the cell of green plant tissue, is an important biological example of how chemical reaction rearrange matter. Human and other animals ultimately depend on photosynthesis for food and oxygen. In this example, carbon dioxide plus water will give you organic matter, glucose plus oxygen. This is a reaction of photosynthesis. The raw material of photosynthesis are carbon dioxide and water, which land plants absorb from the air and soil respectively. Within the plant cell, sunlight powers the conversion of these ingredients to a sugar called glucose and oxygen, a byproduct that can be seen when released by a water plant. Although photosynthesis is actually a sequence of many chemical reactions, we still end up with the same number and type of atoms that we had when we started. Matter has simply been rearranged with an input of energy provided by sunlight. Chemical equilibrium. Chemical equilibrium refers to the state of a system in which a concentration of reactant and the concentration of product do not change with time, and the system does not display any further change in physical properties. End of the chapter summary. Key concepts. Concept number one, we studied that matter consists of chemical elements in pure form and in combination called compounds. Elements cannot be broken down chemically to other substances, and a compound contains two or more different elements in a fixed ratio. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen make up approximately 96% of living matter. So the key question they can ask you in exam is compare an element or a compound. Concept number two, an element properties depend on the structure of its atom. An atom, the smallest unit of element, has the following component: nucleus, protons, neutrons. Nucleus contain protons and neutron. Proton are positively charged, neutron have no charge, and electrons, which are negatively charged, form a negative cloud and determines chemical behavior. An electrically neutral atom has equal number of electrons and protons. The number of protons determines the atomic number. Atomic mass is measured in daltons and is roughly equal to the mass number, sum of protons plus neutrons. Isotopes of an element differ from each other in neutron number and therefore mass. Unstable isotopes give off particles and energy as radioactivity. In an atom, electron occupies specific electron shells. The electron in a shell have a characteristic energy level. Electron distribution in shell determines the chemical behavior of an atom. An atom that has an incomplete outer shell, the valence shell, is reactive. Electron exist in orbitals, 3D space with specific shape that are components arc of electron shells. Next, we learn that formation and function of molecules depends on the chemical bonding between atoms. Chemical bond form when atom interacts and complete their valence shell. Covalent bond form when pair of electrons are shared. Molecule consists of two or more covalently bond atoms. The attraction of an atom for the electrons of a covalent bond is its electronegativity. If both atoms are same, they have the same electronegativity and share a non-polar covalent bond. Electrons of a polar covalent bond are pulled closer to the more electronegative atom, such as oxygen in H2O. An ion forms when an atom or a molecule gains or loses an electron and becomes charged. An ionic bond is attraction between two positively charged ions. Weak interactions reinforce the shape of large molecules and help molecules adhere to each other. A hydrogen bond is an attraction between a hydrogen atom carrying a partial positive charge and an electronegative atom carrying a partial negative charge. Van der Waals interaction occurs between transitorily positive and negative region of molecule. A molecule shape is determined by the position of its atom valence orbitals. Covalent bonds result in hybrid orbitals, which are responsible for the shape of H2O and CH4 and many more complex biological molecules. Molecular shape is usually the basis for the recognition of one biological molecules by another. Last concept we studied about was chemical reaction make and break chemical bonds. Chemical reactions changes reactant into products while conserving matter. All chemical reactions are theoretically reversible. Chemical equilibrium is reached when the forward and reverse reaction rate are equal. The question they can ask regarding this concept is what would happen to concentration of product if more reactant were added to a reaction that was in a chemical equilibrium? How would this addition affect the equilibrium? This brings us to the end of role of chemistry in biology, atoms and molecule unit. Thank you for watching. If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe.